Internet, Farrell here, and I'm back on the Spumcraft Season 3 map. Just wanted to bring you in and show you a little bit of an update of what's being built on and around the area now. We are here at the spawn territory, and as you can see, the guts of our Iron Titan is starting to slowly come into being here. That would be some coarse fruit over there. We've been to the end. We've not actually killed the Ender Dragon, though. We had some enterprising individuals go over, lure the Ender Dragon away just far enough that we could get over and actually set up an Enderman, a very basic Enderman farm, so we could get Ender Pearls. And obviously, since we haven't defeated the dragon, it's not an XP farm yet because, well, you'd have to be able to bring it with you, which we can't if you go plummeting off into the void, which is the only way out of the end at this point. The community center and really the spawn village has seen better days. You can see we've had Creeper Blast take out lighting, which whoever did that, thank you very much for not replacing. Not too thrilled about that. I've pulled my animals out of the animal pen here, kind of in protest. Alan's been busy. He's actually got his shop open already, which, let me put this in perspective, it's about a week after the server started, so he's already got a pretty good supply there. One thing I do want to point out that was added, and I really love how this is working out, is someone put in a canal system underneath the spawn island here. So this actually takes you over to the Iron Titan and also to a quad mob farm. Now, you might be hearing the words quad mob farm and thinking that, oh wow, they've managed to find that pretty quick. Well, the reason for that actually is because this particular seed, one of the reasons why I'm sitting up here at Y149 and yet I can see water within 50 blocks of me, is this is custom terrain generation, so it's using specific terrain gen settings, which has resulted in a higher overall waterline across the server and close to but not entirely amplified terrain, essentially. So it's very plateauy in a ways. So there's our mob farm over there, our very basic bog standard mob farm. The quad farm is over in that general direction, just beyond that little hill here. This is also down underneath here. We've got a dual zombie spawner. That's the initial XP. That is, I believe, one of Rex's ships over there, so he's been busy building away. And so have I at this point. I've actually spent most of the better part of the day on the server. It took a little break this weekend. Obviously, I've got the Extreme UHC footage finally out, so I kind of sat back a little bit and decided to enjoy some actual playing while I could actually get it done without waiting for my computer to render footage. There's not been too much else done. This has been prettified up a little bit, and I really do like how that turned out. The whole tree out the side of the mountain, that looks just really good. And I'm surprised with that proximity to lava. That really must have taken a while to kind of feel out and get right. But you can see more creeper damage here because we lost a light there. Guys, if you're on the server, just if a creeper hits, at least say something and try to fix the damage. I mean, it irks me when I come by and I see stuff that I worked on, and the vine farm was pretty much half destroyed. I had to replace what I've got there. This got destroyed. Actually, I'll take you over into the shopping district too while I'm at it, but yeah, just take some time and replace what you had blow up. You know, just for the public good. I mean, this is a community area here. So Alan's shop pretty much the same that he's always built, aside from the fact he's managed to pick up one of the dragon heads out of the end. It's a nice thing that there are people who have already gone over and, like Alan, for instance, has an elytra already because he pillared over, essentially. So, from my perspective, I am a little concerned that someone is going to basically go through and pilfer all the elytras, and unfortunately we don't have Core Protect up and running yet, from what I understand. I'm not a big fan of the terrain stuff done here either. I hate discriminately flattening or flattening out and expanding terrain in this kind of manner just because it looks ugly when you look at it from the side. So I'll actually take you over and kind of show you what I've been doing in that particular area. Not much else done, though. Everyone's kind of started to split off and do their own thing. Community shopping area, we'll see what happens with that. I need to pop back over there and kind of help out a little bit. And I don't know who put this little shelter in here. On one hand, I agree with it. On the other, they had originally blocked off this wall, and this is the only real way down to get to my portal, so hence the sign, please do not block off these stairs. We live down here, because it's not just me either. This is the other portal back home. We've also got the portal to Andy's Island over there. You can see off the distance I've been doing a lot of work, because normally I would just run through here and pop right directly onto there, but we're not going to do that. We're actually going to take you down through here and show you what I've been working on. Now, it's not done. This is very much still in design, but I've sketched out the rough idea. I have an idea on how I want to have this set up, and it's incorporating some old and new elements to nether tunnels that I've done before. Unfortunately, I've got you over here, which is not helping matters. The idea is along this, I'm actually borrowing a little bit of my Spumcraft nether tunnel, in which this is going to be a carpet-covered half-slab path, so it's not going to look very big from the side. And again, I just like the idea of a tunnel that these guys can't spawn in, so working on that. Obviously, right now it's open, so they're spawning all over the darn place. Of course, I got the gas to worry about. But the other thing I also wanted to do was incorporate something from Spumcraft Season 1, and that was putting in a way to have a transportation network kind of built into this. So if I want to do a minecart, I can very easily do that, because what I've done is I've put an upper deck on this tunnel. Now, the upper deck is definitely not complete. Get out of my way, pigman. So this is basically going to be an upper deck. So I'm borrowing a little bit of Spumcraft Season 1, where I've got an upper and a lower deck, only this time I put the rail line on the upper deck, and it's going to be open up here. There's not just going to be these little supports here and there. So the idea is, you know, unlike the last one, if you got stuck or you want to pop off the rail cart somewhere, you basically you had to schlep all the way back to the nearest part where you could actually get up. Well, this, now you just jump down on, you'll basically derail onto the path down next to you. So it's very easy to build kind of stations into this thing, and I really kind of see this potentially going out further that way and turning into kind of a transit lane. Now, my plans for this right now don't really see this as being very horse-friendly on this level. I've kind of saved that for the bottom level here. So again, it's just wide enough to make it possible to run a horse down this tunnel. Definitely high enough too. I mean, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks high. So more than enough room to do that. I'm not going to be incorporating an ice run because unfortunately we haven't found a packed ice biome yet. And I kind of doubt that we will at this point. There have been people who have been all over this map and we have not heard anyone running across mesa, jungle, or spiked ice biomes. So that has us a little, well, has me a little worried at least. So that's kind of what I'm doing here for my nether path. Now, the other thing you might also be wondering, why do I have this built up across here? And that's because I don't know whether this is Brazen Hawk's design here, or if this is someone else just building a path, but I round up finding this over here, and at that point it just makes more sense to hook this path up rather than waste all the resources on building something all the way out here and down to that, especially because I'm not exactly sure how to take this design and make it go up elevation without doing some really wonky stuff. That's always kind of been my weak part with nether tunnel designs. Now, does that mean I couldn't at one point just kind of build out an over off of my tunnel over to here and just have this hanging out? Absolutely, because what I really want to do with the tunnel I'm building here is I want to have it opened up and really let it have access to the nether. This is building on kind of another one of those elements on, let me take that out. I hate shields for that reason. I feel like they're constantly getting in my view and you can't see jack squat. So I do want to build in kind of something from the Spumcraft nether tunnel. And what I want to do is where I've got anything that's really open to the nether, where I can very easily open it to the nether like this, I want to put in dark glass. So essentially what is going to be done is I'm going to have come back along here. The bottom layer of this, the wall, is going to be obsidian. And I'm also going to have black carpet along the bottom of the thing, except in the areas where we're open to the nether, in which case I'll leave it down to just dark glass. So it's going to leave this kind of very exposed, open feeling like you're out over the void almost. So I'm kind of really interested to see what the others think of that. I'm in a pretty decent spot for it because right over here, I mean, you can see I'm kind of there's this little jut of land over here which I had to put the idiot rail around because I actually did fall in there once already, like a couple days ago. But yeah, that's kind of what I want to do, is just really make it look open. And I'm still going to borrow the lighting glitches, actually. The problem is we don't have... It's another thing we haven't found are guardian temples at this point, so... And unfortunately, just about all of the glowstone has been stripped out of here. I've been off wandering quite a ways, and I can't find any. And I'm down to the last dredges of it myself because I use up most of what I have for doing... I just saw someone there. Oh, pigman. Okay. Almost looked like iron armor from where I was standing. I don't actually know whose portal this is at this point. But someone's building something way out here, and that kind of worries me too, because now I'm building that. Yeah. I may have inadvertently become the first major tunnel on the server, essentially. The problem is Brazenhawk signed up to do the nether tunnels, and I don't think he's actually even thought about starting at this point. So that's why I'm not working too hard on this end of it, because right now I'm just working under the assumption that there's going to be something down here I can connect with. Now, from an elevation standpoint, I probably should have built it a little higher up, either to line up with that elevation or that elevation. But in terms of this one, I have no problem with making a kind of an end cap to it, because it's going to have some sort of station for the minecart. And I don't mind stairs at the end of it. And if it's the other one, I'll just use a minecart elevator, since those still work. Or maybe even just a straight up piston elevator from the... Well, I could use it, but I probably don't, because chances are that's going to be a bug that'll be fixed in some version soon. So let's kind of go over and take a look at some other stuff I've been building. The nether tunnel is recent. This is what I've been working on most of the day. So you can see I've actually started to build a pretty big structure around this. And this isn't really half of it. I mean, if I come out this way, you can see I need to... Now that that has been done, I can replace that. So you can see there's that little 1 pixel high spot there. And here's a good example. You can see the edge of the dirt right next to that. It's just like tilled dirt, basically. You're going to see that little bit of the edge. So what I've done along here is this is actually something that Etho commented on in one of his latest videos, was that he liked how the oak and the path blocks kind of merged pretty well together. They're pretty similar color setup. So that's what I've done all along here. Is these are oak slabs, but underneath I've got 2 more oak slabs. So the path blocks transition a lot nicer with that. So just kind of a food for thought there. But as you can see, I've been busy setting up manual trees farm all along here. And I've got this structure here, which I've been throwing together. I've got this path here. I haven't really done anything with this area, and I've decided to call this white rock, by the way, for that very specific reason. Get rid of the egg. So there's another portal, and I'm going to do some banners like this along the wall, so it does this alternating up and down sort of thing, at least along that wall and that wall. Probably not the back 2 spots. I'm kind of trying to work diorite into the design quite a bit. trying to stay away from the andesite because I'm using that more around the borders. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Maybe someday it'll be glowstone, but for now it's just a gold block. Kind of taking advantage of the new mechanics surrounding unconnected fence posts. Let's actually take a little trip up here, and I can show you kind of some of the upper level where I still have to do the wall, but this is kind of at least the first major beam. I'm going to do oak, I think. I'm still trying to, do I want to do oak or dark oak? Actually, I think the roof will probably be dark oak, just because that's going to look a lot better as a roof. And then I want to have wood supports coming out of the side up to the roof level. I don't want to actually start building the roof at this point, you know, down at this level. I did go with some granite blocks in here just to kind of break up the color monotony a little bit, because I know it's a lot of gray. Doesn't look all that great. I kind of built this little catwalk, I guess you could call it, over the portal, and then I'll terminate these paths similar to how I ended them up there, and just kind of leave this nice and open, so this will be kind of the grand foyer. Now, I know there's a couple people out there who are probably looking at this and like, wait a minute, your portal doesn't line up with your back entrance, and again, neither does this window here line up with the doorway. This is intentional. I actually, when I started building this, I was planning to make this symmetrical, so I was going to have a copy of this hall coming out this way, and I came out towards here, and I'm like, well, then I'm going to have to fill in this pond, and I kind of like the pond. It's a good spot to have the reeds, and I do want to come back and kind of start capping off this pond, so some of these guys will have string arms, so they don't grow as tall. I've already had to move my farm once just to support this, because the farm used to be sitting right under this wall. But I kind of started looking, and it's like, yeah, I want to do something a little different on this side. There's some oak under there. There's a perfect example there. I need to come back with a piece of andesite or stone or something, put it under that, like I did over here, or use the the existing wall that's under it to keep it from looking like that. But yeah, I wanted to have this intentionally off. So this is actually, if the door were centered, it should be over here. I started working on the back curve here, and I put I just was throwing cobble down as a placement, and then I started bringing the front of the building around it, and I was building this whole section first. And I got over to here, and it's kind of like, yeah, but I don't want to have it too tight to here. I want to feel like there's some room here that I could set something up, like a post, a mailbox, ender chest, some storage, crafting, you name it. So I eventually decided I wanted to have just an exit out this side to come over to here, and actually act as a way to get out to kind of the little shelter here. And I don't really want to put traditional doors on it, so and this is all not finished either. I mean, what I should really do is, that's right, I can't do that here because the ladders are currently there. Once the ladders are gone, I'm going to actually have to figure out how I'm going to do the wall. Yeah, it's kind of a wonky spot out here right now, actually. The wall's probably going to come out one more out to here, so this transition will actually be hidden inside of the wall itself. But yeah, I didn't want to just build the same sort of structure and mirror it. I wanted to actually make it somewhat unique. So another spot where I've made it unique is over here. I've actually twisted the architecture here, the blocks themselves, so I could actually get just the single iron bar there, essentially. And I continued it up through here, which is kind of nice because I was actually earlier pot-shotting zombies that were standing outside here through this gap here, so it actually works out pretty nice. But yeah, these are all just, they're all stair blocks. You can see I kind of disguised one stair block here by having the half slab outside the anti-spider rail that I make protect it, or to hide it. And when we get down into here, kind of just went with the whole, I built this part first. Why are you twisting around like that? These are working, well, I guess it's what you could call a happy accident, I suppose. It looks unique, but before they were just kind of, a simple square column like that, and of course the top was inverted over it. But what I would give for some micro blocks to better do the building here. But yeah, it took a little while to figure this out because unfortunately you can't just place regular blocks and not have them connected. You can't do a double half slab because they'll connect to that too. Over here, started working on a bridge. This is probably where I left off in one of the last videos. I still haven't come back and finished up the dark oak posts, but I do have the bridge supports going all the way down to the seafloor now. So just a case of coming back and finishing that up. I also finished off the roof, and I'm actually kind of happy with the roof considering I've mixed in 3 different types of wood here. We've got oak in the middle, we've got the spruce up on the top, and we've got a little bit of birch on the side, just to give it a little bit of color variation. Now, obviously, I still have to kind of come back and put something in here. I'm kind of thinking fence posts, but it's going to be a little difficult to work that in all of these spots because I've got these kind of rafters going through the whole design. But I love how this has turned out, and I think the only other thing I could really do would be to try to hide the, try to put a little detail into this already. But I want to see if maybe I can find a way to hide the lighting up there. I mean, I don't really need it anymore now that I've got the roof actually up there. But for the time being, it actually lets a little bit of light filter in down here. The wall over here, this is actually remnants of 2 separate huts that I had over here that I was using to capture zombie villagers and convert them. And actually, the zombie villager team here, I'm not doing this to build a massive trading center like I did last time on the last map, but I just want to have some guys over here to work with. So I've already got a fisherman over here. I've already got him pretty much traded out. I've wound up with 2 butchers, which, well, 2 leather workers, I mean. Completely useless, but unfortunately perfectly valid for breeding. I've got a weaponsmith, which is not too bad. I mean, he's got a sharp 2 iron sword. I have as a backup sword a knockback 1 sword and an efficiency 2 diamond axe, which could be worse. And my armor, you can see I've already managed to lock out on my trades for coal. That's where I've been getting most of my emeralds at this point. And he's not all that great aside from diamonds, which I don't want to get rid of. Two chest peak for 16. Yeah. I guess I can't complain too much. I would love to have a librarian at some point show up, especially because the one I was trading with back in Spawn Village has been taken away to breed into the iron farms. Apparently I was not on when someone asked if they were being kept there for a reason, and the truth of the matter was they were being kept there for a reason. They were being kept there to actually be able to trade. So now I've got to try to track down another librarian somewhere. Getting zombie villagers is a little difficult in 1.9, but it's also a little easier. I mean, I had a second hut down here, and before I pushed the lighting out further, the zombies were all tracking up here to get to these guys, and one night I managed to have one of the actually it was the weaponsmith just walk in and stay in the hut, and he had one other zombie with him that I had to carefully kill off, but after that it was just a case of sealing up the entrance. So it's not too bad if you give yourself the right size and the right amount of room. They are a little wonky with pathfinding though, because even though you can put over here, what I was doing was I was using rail, and first thing I learned about rails and villagers or any mobs in 1.9 is that they really don't work that great. Because unfortunately now that mobs will collide with you and you can collide with mobs, now they simply just don't get into the minecarts. It took me several frustrating attempts to finally get one in, and I mean all these guys used to be in a building that was right here that I had to move to actually do the landscaping over here, and there's going to be another building that will wind up going here, so this is kind of temporary at best, but getting these guys moved was a nightmare. So problem number 1 is that I mean you can't even do the corner grab trick like you used to be able to do. That I used pretty extensively on the last world. So there is that. Slowly but surely building up my resources. Let's offload a little bit here. I'm running out of storage very quickly. As you can see, I've got plenty of redstone blocks to work with here. Right now, I've got a decent potion back store. Let's toss these in there. Plenty of coal to work with. Plenty of lapis. I mean, I'm even storing redstone in my ender chest, for crying out loud. So that should tell you just how much room I really am worried about. Still don't know what... I know Alan's got to sit his shop stock with saddles, so that pretty much just cut me out of selling those. I've got a pretty good selection of horse armor, so I might go over there and just build a little temporary shop like a Misk Mart or something, just to kind of get that done. Let's go ahead and collect some glass so that I can finish up building the floor of the tunnel, because I really don't want to run into anything. Equipment-wise, I finally cut over to Diamond, but it's very early stage of the game, Diamond. I've been having a lot of problems keeping levels up because I've been blowing through picks like crazy. That's why this guy's actually sitting out right now, because with only 200 hits left, I don't really dare retire this one just yet. I do have a pretty decent sword. The looting 3 is coming on very handy for getting the ink sacks. I got that right off of my trade with the villager. That was just crap enchant. And the other problem I had was I was running out of arrows, so I had to go back over to spawn and pick up some of that. That's all I've got for that. Well, I guess let's take you down into the mining shaft too while I'm here. So this is my somewhat safe drop. And I say that because when I initially set this up and had just a static water source in this block, I dropped down into here. I didn't have the water pool at the very bottom, and the server lagged out just long enough to kill me with 23 levels. So I was not too happy with that at all. It's one of the few times I will actually say that I did rage quit the server. Just because I was trying to work my way up to level 30 so I could get some good pick enchantments, because like I said, that has been a near constant struggle for me. You can see I've been slowly but surely not strip mining yet, but branch mining down here. Started to do multiple runs in one direction. I've done a little bit of wandering. I do have access to some mine shafts and some spawners, but they're all pretty well spread out, so I don't really... Between that and being surrounded by water, it makes it a little difficult to try to utilize them, but on the other hand, being surrounded by water also means that the spawn rate should be pretty darn good. So I may kind of have to revisit that idea, especially in the light that I do want to actually... One of my goals once I kind of settled in this area is I do want to do some underwater building. I've never actually tried that before, and I don't really know if I should be kind of holding on to that for use on the next Spumcraft server, which the reset for that will be coming up in a few more weeks. There's some unfortunate delays that were encountered that's kind of set off a lot of different things, and it's kind of out of everyone's control, but you know, we're going to get there eventually. In the meantime, I think I'm going to be all the better off because I'm kind of learning some of my strategies for 1.9. One of those, actually, let's jump right into that. Let's talk about 1.9. What have I learned so far? Knockback is the best possible enchant you can get on your sword early game. Because creepers now seem to have a hair trigger, and it's very, very difficult, I've found, to run in and get a hit on them and then get away, you know, to back off in time to actually keep them from exploding. And I've caused untold damage on the server, including some at spawn, which I did have to fix myself. So it's not. I know it's not easy to deal with the creepers on the server, but I've at least fixed my damage. So yeah, there's that, and then what else? I like boats. Boats have turned out to be very nice. I have no real complaints there. It feels smoother, at least when you're not one of the ones. If you're in the boat, you're great. Obviously, we've got the whole bug regarding the people going out of render distance now suddenly don't show up in your boat anymore bug. You know, that is what it is, but overall the boats are much smoother, and again, like I said, I'm really happy to see that. And I'm even to the point, I mean, like I said, we're using that as fast transport on the map instead of necessarily horses. Even though I've got two perfectly good horses that I have to ride around places. Now, that said, you know there's going to be a but coming, right? There's... Oh, how do I want to phrase this? Like I said, it definitely feels like there's some sort of lag when people are on the server using boats. If you're not in the boat, like if you're off, and that could be very well just due to, you know, the Minecraft server itself overall having some issues trying to deal with stuff. We've already had one unexpected server restart required today for that very reason, just because the game was derping up pretty badly. So yeah, just food for thought there. The combat mechanic, like I said, dealing with creepers has been extremely difficult. There's no... And in fact, if anything, the new combat system emphasizes the problems that you get with server lag instead of overcomes any of them or gives you an advantage. This very much feels like if you are on a bad internet connection, you may as well just say goodbye to ever being able to actually do anything on a server ever again. And I don't say that lightly. This has just been a nightmare of problems. And, sorry, trying to focus here on that. Yeah, I think I can pick that up. Oh, I didn't swap out picks. Dang it. It's the problem with having two picks that are completely different. I don't remember, and I don't have a silk touch pick yet, unfortunately, either, which doesn't make things easier. But yeah, the combat mechanics definitely punish in terms of getting, because you have to have the exact timing. You've got to have the exact timing, and when the server lags out and your swing doesn't go off when you need it, or you're trying to backpedal and you're in a perfect position to make that hit, and now, just as you've made that hit, the server lags, you take the extra hit. And the same thing with your shield. If you try to employ your shield because you're expecting a hit to come in, if you don't nail it right on, then boom, you've just taken the damage. So the combat mechanics are not very friendly towards multiplayer at all. I mean, Spumcraft is not the most powerful server in the world, but you know, we all openly acknowledge that, and it's a lot of it is, it feels worse today, but it's not really because it's 1.9. It's really because we've got so many people, and I'm actually pretty alone on the server. This is almost the emptiest I've seen it now for the last week. But yeah, it emphasizes that lag, and that's not all that good when you think about it, because now you're also looking at this. I mean, I'm looking at this from the UHC angle. If they said the next extreme UHC is going to be on 1.9, I'd be pretty concerned, to say the least. Just because I don't really see it being a good move right now, honestly. It is very, very punishing for lag. And maybe I can even kind of show you an example, because obviously the server's not going to be too lagged out. I mean, really, it comes down to it. There's a reason why I already have a power 4 bow, and why I'm not even worrying about trying to get to infinity before using this thing. I've been using this bow religiously, because let's take skeletons, for example. If you go after a skeleton, you're going to wind up in for a load of hurt. And that's because the skeletons can now suddenly move ridiculously fast. Now, on the surface, this isn't so much of a problem because you can just run after them, chase them to catch up. Underground, they will happily run circles around you. If you charge up to a skeleton, they will happily take off, and running at a speed twice of what you can actually manage, just completely circle around you in haphazard fashion. I've lost skeletons several times because of that, and just lost a couple there because they despawned. Same thing with spiders. I mean, you can't, because of the server lag, which is already bad with spiders and the fact of being able to jump on you, now you've got to try to hit them precisely, and you're SOL. In fact, the only thing I've actually found combat easier on, ironically, are Endermen. And that's only because now they are much more prone. If you look at an Enderman, they are much more prone to actually running across to get to you instead of immediately teleporting to your side. So it makes it very easy to stand under a too high thing. Now, granted, it seems like the reach has gotten a little longer, so it really has to be kind of too high and out to. But easy to stand under here and just whack away at them. And you can just do it to your heart's content, because now they seem to have lost the tendency to teleport right above you as well. So from that standpoint, okay, combat is definitely better. But that's about it, and really, it really does enforce the fact that bows are the way to go. And unfortunately, that kind of, it doesn't resonate all that great with me. I mean, I don't mind using the bow. I really actually enjoy it. But I will not be the first to say that my bow skills suck. Anyone on this, anyone I've ever fought in the Extreme UHC with a bow will openly acknowledge that my bow skills suck. Certainly at the end of the last one, here I am thinking I'm getting hits on hits on hits, and I got one on Ekor and got one on Gekor, and it was all of a half-heart hit. So, needless to say, that has me very worried if we're going to have any exposure to 1.9 in a UHC coming up. Other things about 1.9, going after squid is a major pain, because now, at least with even just a Sharp 3 sword, Sharp 3 diamond sword, it takes 2 swipes to get the suckers, and because now they've got a collision box, you can't exactly very easily move around them because they are moving you around as much as you are moving them around. So getting squid sacks, the ink sacks, is much harder. Zombies, of course, because now they are, because of the social spawning rules, which are even now worse than before, it feels. They have a tendency to gang up, and it's very difficult. I've already been, oh, what's the best way to put it? There's a novel series that I really liked, and it's not often I really like post-apocalyptic zombie stories. It's basically the Black Tide anthology, and one of the terms they use in it to describe fighting zombies, you get to a point where you get in the scrum. It's an Australian term from rugby. And it's basically just kind of, I guess the equivalent really would kind of be dogpile in American. So you get in these fights where you just get piled up with 4 or 5 zombies on top of you, and that's kind of what you're facing in game. This is another thing I don't like about it, the update, is if I want to actually be able to quickly place blocks, well, forget about having anything in your right hand, because you will do nothing especially if you're just out of range of that block, but wiggle your frickin' hand around. It drives me batty trying to build. But yeah, in fact, that's actually the way I have described the 1.9 update to a lot of people, is the 1.9 update is basically Mojang sticking it to the builders. That's what it feels like to me, in all honesty. I understand that PvP is a big thing in Minecraft. Hell, I play Extreme UHCs, for crying out loud. Can't exactly sit there and say, that I don't enjoy PvP in Minecraft. But at the same time, this update is just driving me insane, frankly. That there are just far too many changes, and I don't think that they were all really tested or well thought out to some extent. And keeping in mind, there are some things I've said about usually I'm pretty supportive of changes. I mean, I'm kind of like, yeah, it doesn't really float like, but yeah, it works better. And the enchanting system is one of those things. I was not a big fan of the overhauled enchanting system, but then after I got to use it for a while, it's like, hey, this is actually pretty good. Um, you know, the changes to villager training, I wasn't a fan of those, but those turned out to be pretty good too. Now, can I get used to 1.9's combat mechanics? I kind of have, but really the joke I've made is really with the 1.9 mechanics has come down to the I hate, you take the swing, I hate the Minecraft 1.9 combat mechanics. That's really the mnemonic for training yourself to handle a sword in Minecraft now. I'm not kidding you. I've actually been using that to some extent in some of my combats because I still get to the point where I'm click spamming like crazy. Actually, that's the worst thing. The worst thing about the mechanic system is actually, it's probably a tie. It's a tie between creepers and baby zombies slash baby pigmen. Because I swear they're sped up now. You cannot get... If there's a baby anything coming at you, and it's gotten within 3-4 blocks of you, that's it. It might as well be game over, because they will just happily sit there and circle around you and beat the living snot out of you. And there's nothing you can do about it. Absolutely nothing you can do about it. Because they're circling around and running around, and they're next to impossible to hit already with their speed and their size. But now, Mojang has made it where you've got to sit down and wait between your swings to have any impact on them. So, that just... It really has come down to... It's not a combat update, it's a... Everybody better learn how to use a bow update. That's all it really meshes down to, in my opinion. And unfortunately, that kind of leaves me in a bit of a tough spot because, like I said, I am not the best at the bow at all. So, yeah. That's kind of left me a little high and dry, unfortunately. So, I guess it's kind of turned into, from a initial World Tour episode over to a vloggy type episode, I suppose. Using the right pick, good. Last thing I want to do is to using my other pick. Okay, so like I said, the plan for down here is going to be, we've got glass across this spot here, and we'll have obsidian walls over here as well, just to kind of put a little bit of darkness into the whole feel. And anywhere that's not that, I'm going to be putting in some non-flammable blocks and putting carpet on top of that. And that should take care of things pretty well, I think. Aside from the fact that I've got to actually come up with the... I gotta come up with all that obsidian. So needless to say, I'm going to be doing a lot of mining down around bedrock for a little bit here. And certainly I also need... I've got plenty of gold, so I'm not too worried about power rails right now. Did I leave that? Where did I leave that, stupid? That's what I said. Get all the way back up here, and then I leave my crafting table over here. Good job. Let's also add you and you, so I can say you're finished off. And then, like I said, the other problem I've got to figure out with this design is where I'm getting my... I suppose that should really be an inverted stair, if anything. I'm going to be getting the lighting blocks from, because I want to use the same sort of feel that I did on the Spumcraft server, where the blocks have the lighting behind them. Because right now, if I take away, I mean, at this point, this lighting is completely pointless anyways. I'm getting a little bit of trickle lighting from up above. Let's take that with me this time. Let's see if I can get back up here. Take care of the rest of these. Kind of relying on the fact that I'm enmeshed enough. I learned this from the last Spumcraft map. I'm enmeshed enough with what's around me that ghasts will have a hard time shooting in. They still can, but it's not quite as bad. Yeah. So that's definitely a little too dark. So what I'm really kind of looking to do... Let's see if I can do this with regular torches. Obviously, I can't put torches on the back of the stairs. What I can do is put torches on both sides of that block, and we can see how this is going to look. Fortunately, this is a little late to be considering some of these build ideas. And the nice kind of thing that this should have... Let's actually take this out, just so people don't think that this is a way through anymore here. This is now officially closed off, and I'm out of... Stupid shield back up. The idea of the shield mechanics is nice, but it's difficult to master in reality. I'm kind of getting there. I can, with the skeletons, I can kind of at least figure out the ebb and flow. As long as you're getting hit by one. If you're getting hit by multiple skeletons, forget it. I try to tackle a skeleton earlier on in the... Well, I'm going to be able to block that off, but... Tried to tackle a skeleton spawner in a dungeon I was working on earlier down in the mine shaft, and the second there was more than two, it was almost game over. I mean, it was just a constant onslaught, and there's no way to time when to put your shield up for that sort of thing. It's just a, yep, that's it, it's done, there's nothing more I can do here. I think for these, what I want to do is just do a little bit of outside embellishment here. That's the other weird thing, I'm not used to doing this sort of thing. But I think this will look better because I can at least keep the torches somewhat protected. And it should more or less have the same effect as I would get off of having the sea lanterns in there, I think. I've never actually tried this before when I was playing around with the lighting glitches. Yeah, it kind of does work, actually. So you can kind of see some of how the lighting is going to flow through here. I've been lucky so far I haven't managed to tunnel in the lava, which is really nice to not have to worry about that. Let's actually do these guys as well. That one's not going to be so perfect because the bottom's wide open. Kind of have to get a really good seal when you're doing lighting glitch work like this. And I'm being a little over the top on that glitch, too, in terms of actually having it having 2 torches in the cavity. Gives a combat update, but they won't fix that problem. There's so many things I wish they would have fixed instead of monkeying about with the combat system. I mean, take the fact that right off the bat, yeah, we're now more dependent on bows and arrows, and yet combat with that system is still just as problematic as it was in the last version. Especially in the cases where you've got that perfect shot lined up, you take it, and then it just bounces off the person even though you hit them square on. How has this not been fixed yet in a combat update? That's what I'd like to know. Yeah, I probably sound very bitter. Well, I am. It's just the way I am. Let's break the ability to get up here, so let's go ahead and replacement instead. These are all put out here just so I have some place to avoid any gas that are shooting. I haven't had any pop up over here yet, actually, which is kind of a little scary. There's one way off in the distance, but that was about the worst of it. Okay, so from a lighting standpoint, yeah, you kind of get the same effect. It's hitting kind of the edge of that block, which is a little interesting. I think it'll look a little more interesting once I really manage to lock this down. Let's go ahead and... I'm not going to be able to pick up the crafting bench after this. Why did I come in here with the leather on me? I don't know. Yeah, I think this is going to look pretty good. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get this wrapped up because it's getting late and I really need to try to finish up as much as I can before I head off to sleep. Unfortunately, from a programming note, like I said, I'm kind of a little lax on videos lately, just kind of recovering from the extreme UHC at this point, and ironically, next weekend is the next extreme UHC, so those episodes will be coming out in about 2-3 weeks. Hopefully we will see as much luck this time around as I did with the last extreme UHC. That was just a load of fun. Did not expect to make it that far. I mean, I've been pretty happy with how I've been placing the whole time. Aside from the one where I managed to completely get lost in the nether. That, damn, I don't have silk touch yet. That did not sit too well with me, but that's how you learn. That's what mistakes are for.